Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the PSBlue Podcast, available everywhere. This is episode 25. It's a milestone episode, Adonis. As always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Adonis. How are we doing today?
Oh, we're doing great. It is a beautiful day. It's cold outside, but the holidays are over, and I am embracing all the festivities and all the fun things that come with the new year.
Yeah, I mean, I am just happy to start a new, like I said, the last couple episodes we recorded, it was maybe the quote-unquote preseason of this sort of new dynamic between the two of us and starting to get everything off the ground. And I think that we handled it really well. But this is the regular season, and this is where we prove who we are as players in the podcast game. That was way more dramatic than I meant for it to be. If you couldn't tell, I am sick. So I apologize for my congested sounds. I'm coming off of a cold. I feel fine, but I'm still congested. So, unfortunately, you guys are gonna have to deal with that. But have you been playing anything that we need to know about? Anything new? What games have you been playing?
So, I mean, just the occasional Fortnite with friends, Mortal Kombat by myself, but I did just so happen to dive into the DLC for God of War Ragnarok, titled Valhalla, and it has been trying, to say the least.
Okay, nice. Well, I think that's a topic this week, actually, so that's awesome. I haven't played it yet, so we have you as our expert analyst for God of War Valhalla. You're going to have to convince me to play it because I have so many different things that I'm playing right now. Around this time of year, I always find myself getting tugged in two different directions. Direction A, trying to knock out games on my backlog. Direction B, there's, new games coming out that I want to play. And January used to be so slow, but we have some games coming out. Mm-hmm. One that I'm really excited for that, not to spoil anything, but it seems like you're not too high on it, is the Prince of Persia game.
Nope.
But we'll get into that. I actually played this past week Plague Tale Requiem, which is, I don't know if you've seen it. It's a sequel to Plague Tale Innocence. I pretty much sped run through Plague Tale Innocence because I knew Plague Tale Requiem was going to be the free game for January for PlayStation Plus, and it looked really good. Plague Tale Innocence was a really nice surprise. I had a really fun time with it. Very good storytelling, stealth-driven, third-person action-adventure game. The story was a surprising highlight, though. The second game, I don't know. I think maybe it's because I ran through the first one so fast, but the second game I'm kind of more taking my time with. I'm also playing this game Tinykin. It's kind of like Pikmin. It's another free game for, I think, extra tier for PlayStation Plus. But there's some good games on there, like Evil West is a game that I already owned. Mm-hmm. If you don't have Evil West, I would highly recommend picking that up. It is a third-person action shooter. I would say it's like fast-paced, kind of like a Doom meets, not to use the word Souls-like, but it's like a Doom meets Remnant 2 kind of type game. It's good. It's actually really good. Yeah, the story is terrible, but the gameplay is phenomenal. But without further ado, today's topics include the now infamous Insomniac leak, which I've saved for the end of the episode. That's going to be the headliner at the very end. That's going to be a big chunky part of the podcast, I'm sure. We also have Prince of Persia, as we already mentioned, God of War Valhalla, Last of Us Part 2 remastered. But first, the quote of the week. Last episode, Adonis made a very bold statement during the Game of the Year podcast when discussing our most anticipated game of 2024. Regarding Black Myth Wukong, Adonis said, quote, "I cannot say enough good things. You can write it down. You can ship it. Any receipt you want. There's no way this game falls on its face. This will be Game of the Year in 2024. Write it down somewhere." End quote. And to which I responded, we don't have to write it down because we have your recording of you saying it. That's writing it down enough. What do you have to say about this? This is like a very, very big statement. You understand that, right?
Yeah. All right. I said it, and it's out there. So when you ask me how I feel, I say the same thing again. I mean, the game looks visually beautiful. the storyline of the game, what it follows, what it means. I think every aspect of the game has it in a clear-cut top position to win Game of the Year in the year 2024. So I'm looking forward to just playing it. I just want to get my hands on it.
Yeah, I mean, but you made that claim.
I think everybody will agree with me.
Yeah, I mean, you made that claim. I wanted to make sure that we said it again. Game of the Year 2024. I mean, that's bold. That's bold. But hey, you got to swing for the fences sometimes when you make these predictions. That's how you got to stick out, And that definitely stuck out to me. So I mean, we'll see. It looks good. I think it'll be above average, but I don't expect Game of the Year. But that's just me.
Be amazing.
What I do think is going to be a contender for Game of the Year is this next topic.
Stop.
Prince of...
Okay.
Excuse me.
Mobile Game of the Year.
Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. This game is not what a lot of people expected when it was initially announced and revealed. It is a Metroidvania in the style of Prince of Persia. Now, Prince of Persia is more traditionally, their last few games have been these third-person action platformer adventure hack and slash type games. And this is a step in a completely different direction. But I'm a very big fan of Metroidvanias. And they are not asking for full price. It's a $50 price tag. I love that. And I think that's an interesting price point, actually. We don't see $50 a lot. It's normally, $24.99 or $39.99 or $70.
They knew they couldn't ask for $70.
Yeah, but I think
they couldn't ask for that.
Yeah, but I think it's they know that it's more than a $40 game, and I respect that. The gameplay looks great. You got all the classic exploration elements, it seems like, but the combat really seems to shine in this game. And just the universe of Prince of Persia is one that I haven't visited since I was a teenager. So I'm excited to get my hands on this come January 18th. Go ahead, Adonis. I know you want to criticize this game, so the floor is yours.
I mean, it is definitely criticism. But it looks like a mobile game. I mean, I love Prince of Persia, and I love what they did with the game spanning all the way back to when I was in high school in the mid 2000s. I think what they did with the game was beautiful. The Sands of Time, the idea that you could use the Sands of Time as a weapon or a tool at your disposal, I thought was just such a great idea. And I liked how the franchise moved forward. I realized that it wasn't a game that would probably stand the test of time, meaning you can't come out with multiple iterations of the game and expect the game to still flourish. I was okay with, maybe remastering old titles, but as you said, a step in a different direction, a direction that I don't think is going to propel the game further in the eyes of gamers. I think it's a feel good kind of game, like I said, like a mobile game. It's 2D. It seems fun. The cartoonish kind of characters and how they move, and it's a different direction than I thought they would go with the game. But I mean, it looks fun. Like, I think
are we looking at the same video?
Word I could use.
Are we watching the same gameplay? It's Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Are you sure we're watching the same thing? Because this does not look like a mobile game to me. I don't know where you get off saying that.
I mean,
what is it? Is it the format, like the side scroller format? Like what?
Yeah, it's not doing. Yeah, it's like the side scroll. No good. It just feels like Temple. It feels like Temple Run. That's what it feels like. I'm being so honest with you right now.
Oh my god!
It looks like
okay. All right, I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you in the sense that it's not like a AAA style game where it's it's blowing you away with its graphics. But I do not see this running on mobile. Watch next week. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown has been announced for mobile.
I'm telling you, man.
I
That's
don't
what
I
it
don't see
seems
that.
like.
Okay, I will say this. It doesn't scream PS5. It doesn't.
No, 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 not in the slightest. No,
But
no.
I'm a huge Metroidvania fan. It sounds like maybe you have more limited exposure with that genre. Have you played Hollow Knight, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, um, any of the Metroid games?
I've played Metroid games. Yeah.
Okay, so then you get it. You're kind of like going through a big map and have you played Bloodstained Ritual of the Night? That's another good one.
That's I've heard of the game. I haven't played it, but
I got to give you a good Metroidvania to kind of like change the way that you view this genre. Yeah, because I don't know, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable if I'm being honest that you are calling this a mobile game. Maybe maybe I'm in the minority here. I felt like people were excited for this.
who?
I felt like they were. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool for like my 13-year-old niece.
I'm gonna we'll do this then and then we'll drop it because look at this undead prisoner fight. This is cool. Come on.
Sure.
This is not good content for people that are just listening right now. But I'm watching one of these boss fights and it's an undead prisoner and he has a column that he took from the side of a building and he is attacking the main character. What? Come on. So
Okay.
so with editing magic, we're fast forwarding a little bit. I had to show Adonis another clip of the game because this is a boss fight, the undead prisoner boss fight from some of the early
This isn't
gameplay of the game.
It's not terrible. Okay. I got a little
Look
bit.
at that! Look at that move.
Okay, with the moves. It's fine. Like it's serviceable, right? Like I'd play it for a few hours.
Okay,
Then I'd
rating
probably never play it
predictions, Metacritic score predictions for this game. This is a new thing. I've never asked anyone to do this on the podcast before, but I'm gonna say this gets an 84 on Metacritic. Do you want to wager anything of what you think?
I think that's like the perfect score. Yeah, that seems fine.
You're acting like it's a 62.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. 84 is okay. I mean, the combat system's cool. Like that's where you're getting me.
Yeah,
that's where I'm enjoying it. The combat system's not bad. That's really cool.
I think that you need to soften up to the Metroidvania genre a little bit more, but we'll save that for another episode. Let's move on to another topic that you might be a little bit more excited about. Maybe for better or worse, but sounds like you have some mixed feelings about God of War Ragnarok Valhalla gameplay. Just walk me through your initial experience with this, because sell me on God of War Valhalla.
So what I have to say about the DLC might not sell you. I don't know. Probably won't sell you at all. The God of War franchise is beautiful and immersive and full of love because Santa Monica Studios knows what they're doing with games. So I think the DLC is just hard as shit. Like it's fun. It's cool. When you get to the title screen of God of War Ragnarok, they give you an option to start the DLC, in which it kind of picks up, not exactly where God of War storyline leaves off, but it picks up with Kratos. He's in his boat, kind of going along, and he's talking about an invitation that he had received to visit Valhalla. There, he runs into the Valkyrie Queen. And she tells him, well, I didn't send this to you. So I am, and she tells Kratos that I am one of the only people outside of Odin. And it's not a spoiler. The game's been out for however long. Odin's dead. So if it's not Sigrun and if it's not Odin, who else has the location of Valhalla and has invited Kratos to essentially, run around in Valhalla? And that's kind of where the DLC begins. So off of the strength of that alone, it's very intriguing. And so then you get inside Valhalla and you find out that it's essentially a challenge run. You open a chest. It'll give you an option on which power-ups you'd like to receive. So if you're familiar with the game, Anthony, you are. Listeners, you probably will be as well. You can get certain runic attacks for your weapons. So you can choose between a runic attack for your spear or a runic attack for your chaos blades. And you use those power-ups and essentially move through the next obstacle of opponents, but it gets harder as you go. And that's kind of the hard part, because once you die, it resets you back to the beginning of Valhalla. There is no checkpoints.
So it's a roguelike.
So yeah, and as you get further, you uncover more about the quote unquote story. But if you keep dying, you never get that much further. And probably like me, I'm not playing it on an easy difficulty. I'm playing it on Give Me War, which I believe is the hardest difficulty. So you're not getting many heals. Your health depletes a lot faster. Your rage meter goes a lot quicker, and you're fighting opponents that are a lot tougher. So
and
eventually,
you don't have a companion, do you? Not to cut you off, but
no, you don't. Not to like I said, not to spoil anything, but no, it's just you.
Wow.
And each time you reset, you essentially take some of the items that you gain. Like there is a I don't really know what it's called, but you accrue it as you go, and you can use it to like increase your health, increase your rage meter, get different armor. And it's cool, but like after the 17th death and me having to start all the way over, I was like, screw this. I'll come back to it another day. But it's a lot of fun. New enemies, they're great. And I think it's definitely worth it to try.
There's
but
new
once
enemies?
you realize, ooh, this might be hard to beat, then yeah, for sure.
Oh, I didn't know there was new enemies.
There's
I thought it was
there's
just
a new
different...
god in it too.
Oh, wow. Like a new boss?
Yeah, they're called what is it? I haven't played it in maybe like a week and a half, but they're like called Valhalla's Warriors or something like that. And you have to essentially, in order to move on to the next part, you have to defeat that quote unquote boss. But it's cool. It's tough, man. And a lot of people might go, well, just idiot, decrease your difficulty settings and have fun. Why? If I said give me war, damn it, give me war. I didn't say I was done. I didn't say I was finished. I just said it's hard. The battle was not won, but the war is still ongoing. So I'll try it again when I'm up to it. But I'm not lowering my difficulty setting. I want war, and I'm gonna get it. So the God of War Valhalla DLC is a lot of fun. I don't want to discourage anybody from playing it. Just be ready for what you're gonna get.
So here's my thing. I like roguelikes, but there has to be a system of progression. Like you said, when you go into the game and you go on a run and it's a pretty decent run, and then you die before you get to whatever goal you were trying to get to, it is so humiliating. Like it takes all the wind out of your sails, unless there's some sort of a progression system. And then like a constant progression system. Is there something? Have you played Hades?
No.
Okay, Hades is one of the best roguelikes I think that has ever been made. And in that game, every time you die, you go back just a little bit better. You have a new unlock here, a new power up here. You're unlocking new things that you can potentially find on your runs. It's a very good. I think Returnal is also a very good roguelike. But one of my biggest criticisms of Returnal is it's a little bit not as good in that sense as a game like Hades, as far as every single run you're working towards something better. What does God of War Valhalla have in terms of like a progression system in between runs? Is there anything like that?
Nothing.
I don't like that at all.
Every time you die, Sigrun she's like, oh, well, the battle's not over yet. You can still fight. And, Kratos wakes up. I lost. Like, yes, you did. And every single time they feed you a different line about Valhalla and how you can go back in and try again, and you start literally back at the beginning.
But you don't get like a 5% health increase permanently unlocked, or a new weapon that you could.
No, so that's kind of where that currency. No, that's where that currency comes into play. And so how you get a boost is as you approach the gates of Valhalla, you'll have two statues. One statue will allow you to equip all of the shields that you've accrued over the course of the game. One statue is all of the, what is it? It's all of the armor, I believe. And so what they'll tell you is one of the shields will be highlighted, and it'll let you know, like, hey, you can accrue more of this currency if you use this shield throughout your run. And so with that currency, you use it to increase your health meter, increase your rage meter, to buy different power-ups. So like you can increase your luck, increase your strength, get different power-up, different runic attacks. And so the idea is that once you defeat these enemies, you earn more of that quote-unquote currency. And that's
but the currency is lost in between runs, right?
That is exactly correct. No. So the rage meter and the health stays.
In between runs?
The luck power-up, the strength power-up, I believe you lose those. I believe you lose those in between runs.
I think I need to just
definitely lose your runic attacks. It's fun. I mean, you're going to get frustrated with it pretty quick.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound... It sounds
it's
like...
free.
Right. But, I mean, time isn't free. Not to be cliche, but there's so many other things I got to play. There's so many other things. But I love God of War. I got to put my money where my mouth is. It's one of my favorite games of all time. 2018 God of War and Ragnarok. I loved Ragnarok. I still have to get the platinum for Ragnarok. So I think if I return to Ragnarok, it would be to finish up all the post game things that you have to do in the game. Not to spoil anything.
There's a lot of worthwhile stuff.
I know there is. I know there is. I'd rather do that, I think, than play, not to insult Santa Monica, but what seems to be a half-baked sort of roguelike expansion. And I don't mean that in an insulting way, because they didn't have to give us this at all. It's free. Like, this is like good on them for doing like that's just amazing that they gave this to us. So props to Santa Monica for offering it. I mean, maybe some people love it. It seems, like I said, like something I might check out. But I'm glad you had at least a little bit of fun with the story elements. You're gonna have to let us know if you finish it, and if you do, I will be very interested to see if it is worth returning to for myself. This next topic is another topic that we have talked about way too much on this podcast. Before Adonis, before I had you on, and I think even the two of us have talked about this as well. The Last of Us and all their iterations and all their remakes and all their remasters, and it was finally announced that The Last of Us Part 2 was getting a remaster. Now, this is a little bit dated at this point, but mind you, we haven't had a chance to record a traditional episode because last week was Game of the Year and we had taken a break for a while before that. So this is something that I really wanted to cover because I've gone back and forth on this so many times. What are we doing? Like, are we squeezing as much money as we can get from the consumers out of the Last of Us IP? I mean, we have the HBO series, we have Last of Us Part 1, Last of Us Part 1 remastered, Last of Us Part 1 remastered again, Last of Us Part 2, and now the Last of Us Part 2 remastered. So it's only a $10 upgrade, but still, it's even nervy to charge $10. And that's if you have the Last of Us Part 2 PS4. If you don't have Last of Us Part 2 PS4, obviously, you have to pay full price for the game. But, I mean, to me, they should offer it for free. A free PS5 upgrade. Because I don't know how you see it as anything more than another cash grab when you have to charge any amount to upgrade to PS5. Now, okay, they're also including a multiplayer something. Some sort of, which they had been working on for years and years and years and years. and it's called No Return. It is a roguelike, which I'm sick of saying that word. Everybody's making a roguelike lately, but I believe it's a multiplayer roguelike. Don't quote me on that, but I'll make sure that information is correct while Adonis gives us his take. So what do you got on this?
On The Last of Us, the what, remaster?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Last of Us Part 2 remaster.
I think it's cool. I think like you said, I think it's a little ballsy to be like, hey, pay $10, and then like if you don't have the PS4 version of the game, you got to buy the full game. Because if it's remastered, there'll obviously be some differences between them. I mean, obviously that's the meaning of remastered. Like they'll make it look better and they'll make it look more aesthetically pleasing, but they'll probably add a few things. But it's just like, hey, we've been so blessed with the series, which it won how many awards? 7, 8 awards, I believe, at the last awards show a few days ago. So, I mean, with remastering it, was it something we needed? No, not really. I would have more or less looked forward to Last of Us Part 3 news, but I realized that we're probably a ways away from that, regrettably. I definitely want a new iteration of the game, though, man. Oh, man, the game is beautiful. And I think with the outpouring of support that came out for the series, I think it's only right that Naughty Dog just boot the car back up, put the keys in the ignition, turn the heat on, and just put out another game. I really want that.
Like a new IP, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Like let's be done with this. Come on. Or make Uncharted 5.
Like
make Uncharted 5 with I'd be fine with Uncharted 5.
I think their window to do Uncharted 5 passed when they made the movie. And I think that's kind of where, I mean, those games have done their job. They've captured our hearts, and they've made a ton of freaking money, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about to these gaming studios, making money. Some like to appease their fans, but most like to make money.
Well, they all like to make money.
They drop,
I have a quick correction to make. The Last of Us Part 2 remastered, it comes out imminently, January 19th, it seems like, according to this blog post. Yeah. But
wait, what?
The new mode, the new roguelike mode, is a single player mode. So they scrapped the multiplayer mode altogether. Which I don't know why. It shows you how long I've been out of the game, but I don't know why, but I thought that it was multiplayer for some reason. So I just misspoke. It is a single player roguelike. It seems like it's going to be in a similar vein as God of War Valhalla is. So sounds like it's right up your alley, Adonis. I'm joking,
roguelike.
Obviously.
Oh boy.
It also says it's not
Good
for the faint
Lord.
of heart. So apparently it's going to be hard.
Oh, you know what that means. You damn right it will be.
Yeah.
See, if they're going to put that in the description,
Yeah.
it ain't even going to be hard. It's going to be damn near impossible.
Right, that's true.
I'm cool with it. I'm fine with it.
I just
Games like
they
that,
got
I'm
some
cool
nerve.
with.
They just have some serious nerve charging two games worth of content. I think a total of 5 times now. Let's count them off the cuff really fast. The Last of Us, PS3. The Last of Us, PS4.
Mm-hmm.
The Last of Us, PS5. The Last of Us Part 2, and now The Last of Us Part 2 PS5. That's 5 iterations of 2 games. Stop it.
Just give us a
Stop
new one.
it.
I'd be cool with it.
All right,
trying to
I'm done
follow
with this
Ellie to the
topic.
end of the
Unless you have anything else to add, I would rather move
Nah,
on. I'm sick of this.
The game has been doing its thing for a long time. It's time to put it to bed.
I agree. All right, a little bit of context for this next topic for you, Adonis. So, as you know, as a friend of the show, we have covered Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl before. Vinny and I have, and It was not a good game. It wasn't very well received. We were vying for a Crimson Chin playable character. We came up with his move set and everything, and we were thinking about what a great character he would be. And we were having fun with it. It was a highlight of that episode for sure. But the game itself was not a highlight. It had no voice acting. Like, how could you have a character brawler with no voice acting? That doesn't even make sense. So,
but
no,
not only does it not make any sense, who knows the monumental asking price to get the authentic voice actors for all of these characters across all of these shows.
That's a good point. I mean, how lucrative are their careers at this stage in the game when you're talking about Jenny, the teenage robot, and characters like that are from, 10 plus years ago. Anyway. So,
and they're all one of a kind. You can't get somebody else to fill in the role. They're all one of a kind.
The pool of voice act, and you know about this as in your realm as well, but the pool of voice actors isn't as big as I think we think it is. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, because they did end up getting voice actors, and they patched the first game, and they added voices, and they added like new sound effects and things like that. And after all the criticism, after all the criticism that the first game got, they started patching it, and they started adjusting it and updating it. And then lo and behold, they come out with a second game, and it's getting like 9s. It got a 9 on IGN. It has a 93% user rating on Steam. It's got, I'm going to look up the Metacritic right now, but it's getting very, very, very well received reviews. And so it's this comeback story where the studio, I believe it's the same studio that made the kart racer. I could be wrong about that, but most of these Nickelodeon games have been mediocre at best. But they've done something special apparently with Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, and at first glance it looks like more of the same game, but apparently there's like air attacks or something. You would know, as the fighting expert, you know more about this than I would, but there's like certain things that it does that are different now, and I think there's like a slime meter that just adds a whole new dynamic to the game. Really just cool stuff. And the main thing I wanted to highlight is just the way that they responded to the criticism. It's almost like a video game version of the Sonic the Hedgehog thing that happened, which I think was a plant, but that's a story for another day. I think that it was all a big setup.
That's pretty cool.
But it reminds me of that. For those of you that don't know, Sonic the Hedgehog, if you're living under a rock and you don't know this story, basically they showed a trailer and Sonic looked grotesque and everybody made fun of it and criticized it, and then they updated it, and the actual movie ended up being very good, quote unquote.
Well,
I never saw it.
It took the masses saying "screw you" to essentially make. Can you imagine if they put that damn Sonic on screen? Good Lord.
I don't buy it. That's really what they were going with, but that shows you how disconnected some of these executives are. Anyway, they very easily could have just said screw you and went with that model, because that's, the court of public opinion only goes so far, even though it's a consumerist market where the consumers and the way that they feel is going to drive whether you make this product again and sell it again or not, but for some reason, a lot of the times you get in this situation and the developer says, no, we're just going to be stubborn and we're going to believe in our product and we are too cool for criticism, and you'll see when the final product comes out, and they get thick-headed about it and the game ends up flopping. And apparently that did not happen with Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. They got to change the name because it is a mouthful. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. That did not happen. They responded well, and here you have it. So Adonis, I want to get your take on the story first about this comeback, this Rocky 2 comeback of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl situation, and then also the actual game. Like, talk to me about it. You're the fighting game guy, so this is the main reason I wanted to bring this up. So just talk to me about all that.
Well, it's going to get a resounding yes, 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 and yes from me, only because, well, one of the large facts why I think this game is just such a necessity for anyone to truly digest, even millennials, is because the nostalgia aspect of the game. Like, there's so many characters from so many shows that we loved and that we held close to our hearts, and the characters that grew up with us. So from that aspect just alone, I think the game is an insta cop. Like, you have to get it. From a fighting game perspective, using my vast knowledge of fighting games. Yes, I do. I know. It has a brawl kind of like Super Smash Brothers brawl kind of like look to it, which is cool. Those kind of games are always nice, and I feel like that's the template they use to design this game. And so from a fighting game perspective, I think it'll be competitive. I think it'll be fun. And I'd love to try it. I'd love to play it, not even from like a competitive aspect, but just, hey man, like, let's have a night. And you, instead of breaking out the Mario Kart, this could be one of the games you break out for fun.
Yeah, I actually got my sisters, my two younger sisters. They're a year apart. They're significantly younger than me though, but they're a year apart, and unfortunately they get their gifts grouped together sometimes, as is the case with siblings that are that close in age. But I got them the first game, I think, for the Wii, or not the Wii. God, that's going way back. For the Switch.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, not the Wii. So I got them the first game for the Switch. It was fine, but it was exactly that. It was like that party game that you play. But I think that's what made Smash Bros. And makes Smash Bros. Still to this day so good, is it has that accessibility factor, but it also has that competitive factor. And I think that's why people like this All-Star Brawl sequel, because I think it has both. You got the voice acting, you got the nostalgia factor, you got the characters, but you also have that competitive, I believe it's called the slime meter or something. I remember reading up on it, but you have that sort of balancing act that you need to play, and it's got an involved system if you want to get competitive about it. So, easy to learn, hard to master is the definition. If you want, we can go through the characters. What I wanted to do, I thought it'd be fun. We just go through the characters. You could tell me the character that, the characters that kind of stick out to you specifically, maybe from a fighting game perspective, or maybe just from a nostalgia perspective. And then I also want to get your, like, who you would put in the game, like what Nickelodeon character you would put in the game if you could. So just in case it's not already on there, I'm going to read out all the characters now. It's insane. This is the podcast though. This is what you signed up for. So
I'm watching the gameplay. This is a great. This
Here
is
we go. Here's
this
a list of characters: SpongeBob, Squidward, Jimmy Neutron, Patrick, Raphael, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Plankton, El Tigre, April O'Neil, Donatello, Ember, Aang, Ren and Stimpy as one character, Nigel Thornberry, who is returning, Grandma Gertie, Garfield,
oh my God,
the Angry Beavers, Gerald from Hey Arnold, Danny Phantom, Azula, Lucy Loud, Jenny the robot, Reptar, Rocco, Zim, and Cora. Who sticks out to you on that lineup?
Danny Phantom.
I got Grandma Gertie all day.
Danny Phantom and Invader Zim.
Those are just... yeah. Invader Zim, yeah, that's cool. I think Danny Phantom. I can just see.
But those are two of my
head now. Oh really?
But those are two of my favorite shows. Yeah, those are two of my favorite shows. That's why they stick out.
I love the idea of including.
I love Danny Phantom.
I love the idea of including the grandma from Hey Arnold. Like, who thinks of that? That is like so good. That is so good.
That's why I said, man, it's the perfect model. It's the perfect template. You get a fighting game with characters that literally ooze nostalgia, and I think you got a winner on your hands.
So I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you. I told you the whole roster. Give me a character you could pick from any Nickelodeon show, any character, who would you pick that is not on the roster already? Who would you make a character in this fighting game?
Vicky from Fairly Odd Parents. Or
Really?
Chip Skylark. Either one.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Chip Skylark. I love that.
Vicky's moveset. Vicky's moveset and Chip Skylark's moveset would be absolutely just yes.
Yeah, I feel like Chip
It'd be so
Skylark,
good.
you would have like a teeth throwing thing where you just throw a bunch of teeth. You'd have
That's
teeth projectiles.
Exactly. Now you're getting it.
Oh
now
my
you're
god.
getting it.
Yeah, that would be.
It would be a lot of fun.
That is funny.
I have to get this game. When is it coming out? Is it out already?
It's out. It's been out. It's been out, man. Yeah, it's been out for a while. November, I think it came out. We never got we took a break,
God,
remember? Dude. So this was a topic that kind of got pushed, and I was like, oh, I forgot about this topic. Let me bring it down to January. So quick just temperature read. You're a little bit higher on this than Prince of Persia.
Hell yes. Prince of Persia can go right in the trash can. This
I'm
one
joking.
can go right on my shelf.
I'm joking. What? Okay, can you humor me? You said Vicky would have like, what would her moves be? I don't understand the move set for her. That was an interesting answer. I wasn't expecting that.
So I think here's the interesting part about that is I think her moveset, half of it would just be the octaves of her voice. The fact that she's always Timmy or twerp, you know, the idea that you could even make the octaves of her voice or even the like subtitles be weapons to use.
Oh, like the
twerp
word
could be a
twerp comes up on the screen and is a projectile.
Exactly.
That's good.
Exactly.
Okay, I see it. I see it. You know who mine would be? You know who mine would be? That you're never gonna guess it. I'll give you one guess. You're not gonna guess it. Go ahead.
I mean,
guess.
Across like 15 shows, I might not, but I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna stay with Fairly Odd Parents and say Dinkelberg.
Oh my god! I wish I said that. I wish that would have been great. No. You ready for this? Face. Do you remember Face from Nick Jr.?
From Face? Hold on.
You don't remember Face from Nick Jr.? He was the host of Nick Jr. He was just a big face.
Oh my god. Yeah, Face. Yeah, I remember him.
He'd have like different colors and stuff like that. Like,
game?
What?
That would actually be kind of cool.
Yeah.
That would actually be kind of cool.
Yeah. He would be like, I feel like he would be like
cool.
a Kirby type character where he could like take different forms and stuff like that. So that's my weird.
He'd be one of the top tier characters for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. So yeah, that's my crazy pick. Also Donnie Thornberry.
I'm like really gonna have to get this. You say Donnie? Him?
Yeah.
Him?
Yes.
That's an excellent choice. I'm putting that over Face.
Him swinging on
like
a vine.
A rage mode where he just
His air
That'd be
up is a
pretty cool.
vine. Like I can see
that
it
would be
right
really
now.
cool.
It's a vine. His recovery, I mean, not his air up. I don't know. Fighting fans don't come at me. I don't play fighting games. I'm sorry. But yeah. Oh, he would have a boomerang. He would have a boomerang. Oh my god. Yeah, give me Donnie. Give me Donnie. I'll 1v1 anyone with Donnie.
That's actually not a bad choice. I think this game could be competitive, and I'd love to see the characters people play. I'd love to see their move sets, their special moves, their ultimate moves, their supers, whatever. I think this game is good. Like it's not meant to be taken seriously, and I think that's what makes it so good.
Well, yeah, and again, not to beat a dead horse, but I really do believe that their big emphasis on the sequel was to make it a more viable competitive style game. So, is Plankton a character? Because I feel like Plankton could be
I think
OP
they did it.
if Plankton's not a character. All right,
I
could spend. I could spend another hour
It was
going
like a
over this.
metal. It was like a metal Plankton.
Yeah, Crumb. Give me Crumb from All Real Monsters. The guy that holds his eyes in his hands. From All Real Monsters. You know what I'm talking about?
Like Mr. Mr. Crocker. Oh man, they could really open up the character list on this one.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Let's move on because I could do this all day. So we should just move on now. Here's the headline. Here's the headline of the podcast. Adonis, I've gone back and forth on this a lot. I've had other games come up where there were leaks. Like the new Skate game had a leak. I put a video on YouTube out about it, about how we're doing wrong by the developers by covering the leak and playing the leak and going through all this stuff with their leak. But I'm torn. I'm really torn because on one hand, I want to talk about everything that came out in this Insomniac leak. And on the other hand, I kind of want to respect their privacy, but I just don't think there's any privacy anymore. I think everything's kind of out there. Anybody that wants coverage on the Insomniac leak is going to get coverage on the Insomniac leak because it is that massive of a leak. I mean, we have literally a roadmap, an extended roadmap of Insomniac's, and again, this is projection, right? So this could be what their plan is to their investors or to the people at the top when they have presentations. There's a little thing on the bottom left-hand corner that says secret, top secret, do not share. And that is just so makes me shudder seeing that. But it is a timeline of games from 2020 to 2036. So I'm going to take
God.
Right. I'm going to take a middle of the road approach, and instead of explicitly saying what the games on this list are, you can look for yourself if you really want to. I'm just going to say that last week, for those of you that don't know, Spider-Man 2 won our Game of the Year, and I said I will play anything that Insomniac makes. I just want to play games from Insomniac. And I said, please let them make a new IP and stop making superhero games and stop making Ratchet and Clank games. I can tell you 3 things. Number 1, they're not going to stop making superhero games. Number 2, they're not going to stop making Ratchet and Clank games. And number 3, there are some new IPs potentially in the works for Insomniac. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to try and respect the developers a little bit here and not just give away all the goodies here. And I'm going to leave it at that. If you want to look, it's out there. Google Insomniac leak, you'll find it. You know how Google works. Adonis, talk to me about this leak. How do you feel we should handle this? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but just talk to me.
I think the way you introduced the last topic of the podcast was spot on. When I first saw you, cool. And we talked about this,
yeah,
it's a lot to unpack because of how the implications of it all, man.
Right.
And I told you before we started the podcast, I said that it's just so important to know as gamers what's the next. That when you enjoy a title, you review it, you enjoy it, you wish you had more, you tell yourself, man, this will hold me over. And then when the time is right, you're like, what are we gonna get next? You look forward to E3, you look forward to other gaming conferences, and you look forward to those trailers that are world exclusives. With Insomniac, there is no more mystery. We know exactly what's coming, and we know when it's coming. Is it going to take away from the game they're going to give us? No. But it takes away from the hype that they'll be able to build around the game with said promotions, tours for the game, having voice actors maybe pop up in commercials. The hype for any game that they announce for the next 12 years, we'll know exactly what's coming. And so it's not even a question to me. People who violate not only the trajectory of Insomniac, but also the employee's personal information, I think there's no punishment that is even proper, being jail time, prison time. It's just, it really ruins a person's life, but also a multi, a $1 billion company is now at the mercy of hackers. And to think this could have all been saved, which I'd like to think gaming studios or their executives, whoever handles these kind of things, will kind of approach it the same way with the president handling terrorists in a hostage situation where they have Americans. Like, you just don't negotiate with hackers. But if they ask for $2 million and we won't release the information, I think they should have just paid them, because of what was at stake. You have your employees' personal information, bank records, social security numbers. It's all out there. Like, once it's out there, you can't stop it. Like, you can't go, all right, hey guys, like, the joke's up, please. Once they hit, that metaphorical send button, your entire life is on display. So it's piss poor for the studio to not guard that information using the proper amount of financial assistance, hiring an information security firm, whatever it may be. It's piss poor that they allowed something like this to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with the latter half of what you said. This should never happen. It shouldn't happen. And it happened recently. I think, how many episodes of the podcast have you recorded? It hasn't been many, maybe 5 or 6. There's another episode that we recorded where we talked about a Sony hack. So this is 2 hacks that have happened to Sony studios, or Sony servers in, the course of a few months. It's not a good look, and they need to take the proper steps to ensure that this doesn't happen. Now, obviously, that's easier said than done. Obviously, hackers are growing.
No, it's not, though. But it's not.
But here's where I'm going to push back a little bit. These hackers are growing at the same rate, if not faster, than the security companies and security protocols are also changing. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of an ongoing sort of war, for lack of a better word. Where I disagree with you is, I don't know if they can pay the ransom. And we talked about this before we recorded when this first happened. And we kind of had a back and forth, and there's no real conclusion that we really came to. And we said, we'll talk about it on the podcast though. What do you do? Because you're dealing with criminals, right? So if you pay to have the information that they obtained locked down and not put out into the world, if you say, okay, we'll give you the 50 Bitcoin or whatever they wanted, and if we do that, you're going to not put the stuff out there, right? They could still put it out there. Mm-hmm. What is stopping them from putting it out there? Or they could say, okay, thank you for the money. We're just going to leak the Wolverine stuff now, unless you give us another $1 million. We're just going to leak, this game, unless you give us another $2 million. You know what? Thank you for the $2 million. Can you give us $10 million more? Because we know you can afford it, because you're a $1 billion company. It's a never-ending cycle, I feel like. I don't know if you can take a criminal's word there. So I feel like once they obtain the information, it's going to get out no matter what. But I mean, I could be naive, I could be wrong, but that's how I personally feel. I feel like once that violation happens, once they obtain the information, if one person in the hacker group doesn't get it out into the world, somebody else will. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's a matter of protecting the information better at the front of this situation. So the hostage part, quote unquote, doesn't happen, right? The ransom part doesn't have to happen, because they never got all the files that they received. I mean, is it possible to live in a world where we protect sensitive information without putting it online? Like, is that possible to just have an offline server? I don't know if it is, because there's too many people that work on these games. There's a whole marketing team. There's a whole team just for environments. There's a whole team for story. Like, how could you do all that without putting it on some version of the internet, even if it's just a local, network? It's hard. It's a really difficult situation. I've been talking a while. I'm gonna hand it back over to you. What do you have to say to all that?
Well, just to kind of piggyback off of what you said, that I don't think a lot of people understand is how large these developing studios are, and more importantly, or more specifically, the teams that they have working on games. So, for example, if you look at a game like Last of Us, right? Let's say you have a storyboarding team. Let's say you have a team that works on visual effects, and then let's say you have a team that works on 3D graphics. Each of those teams could be made up of like 200 people because it's such a large game. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard in a place. And I mean, if they want to just kind of go off the grid with it and just build a facility or rent out a facility, you leave everything in house. And that's the only thing that's really, really hard, is because you can't take these people away from their families. They're human beings. But I mean, at what cost, right? And then eventually, over time, the ante's going to be upped. So it'll go from gameplay to leaked trajectory to linked financials. What's next? It's what's the next high that these hackers can achieve. So I think if at some point, man, these gaming studios are gonna have to make a hard choice. So like, if you're gonna do another Last of Us, buy an offsite facility, rent it out for 2 to 3 years, and you tell all of these people, hey, you can't see your family for 2 or 3 years, or make them sign a contract that is punishable by death. I don't know, but I don't.
That's a little extreme.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm being dramatic, but I'm just saying to the effect that this can never happen again, and it's going to. It's going to. That's the reality of it.
But it's not, the nuclear bomb codes. It's a video game, so that's where it's like, how, you know what I mean? I mean, it's a $1 billion. It's a $1 billion, multi-billion dollar industry. I mean, Insomniac probably made $1 billion alone on Spider-Man.
But what
that
you
might be
said
a bit of an exaggeration, but
is that you said the nuclear launch codes are safe. Employ whatever protocols the government has for protecting those within your facility, and then they'll remain safe.
Yeah, I mean, it's this is a wild situation, and you're right. It's going to happen again, and it sucks, and it's part of the industry, and it comes down to money, as it often does. They wanted to make a quick buck by hacking Insomniac. They saw some vulnerability in their security protocols, and they found it and pounced on it. And it's sad. Mm-hmm. It's not even, what makes this so profound isn't that another studio got hacked. It's the amount of information in this leak. It's insane.
They took a lot.
I think it's the biggest leak that has ever happened across almost any media out.
The Yahoo leaks was massive.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, at least in recent memory, then this is a big leak. This is a very this is a very big leak. Is all I'm trying to say. At the end of the day, I have Insomniac's statement right here off Twitter that I want to read.
One they posted on Twitter. Yeah.
So this is what Insomniac said in response to the leak. This is off of Twitter. Quote, "Thank you for the outpouring of compassion and unwavering support. It's deeply appreciated. We're both saddened and angered about the recent criminal cyber attack on our studio and the emotional toll it's taken on our dev team. We have focused inwardly for the last several days to support each other. We are aware that the stolen data includes personal information belonging to our employees, former employees, and independent contractors. It also includes early development details about Marvel's Wolverine for PlayStation 5. We continue working quickly to determine what data was impacted. This experience has been extremely distressing for us. We want everyone to enjoy the games we develop as intended and as our players deserve. However, like Logan, Insomniac is resilient. Marvel's Wolverine continues as planned. The game is in early production and will no doubt greatly evolve through development, as do all our plans. While we appreciate everyone's enthusiasm, we will share official information about Marvel's Wolverine when the time is right. On behalf of everyone at Insomniac, thank you for your ongoing support during this challenging time. End quote. Applause for their PR department. That's a very good response with the little Logan, little Logan segue in there and everything. I mean, it was good. They only chose to comment on Wolverine, which I thought was interesting. Again, if you choose that you're going to look at these, by the time you're listening to this, you probably already looked at the leaks because we're covering it a couple weeks late. But if you haven't and you choose to do so, you're going to see a lot more than just Wolverine on there. There is a lot of stuff on there. But I think it is important.
You said what, up until 2032?
It was like 2036 or something like that. It's insane.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So here's what we got to remember, right? This is the projection. That is a very important word. It is a projection of games to come. This is what they plan on doing. They're not working on the 2035 games right now. That's just what's in the pipeline. So what we're seeing is, yes, we're peeling back several hundred layers of the onion and seeing inside Insomniac's, sort of trajectory, but it could change drastically. They could lose their contract with Marvel tomorrow. And it's really crazy because there's all this financial information in there, and I don't want to go too deep in it again, just out of respect for Insomniac and the leak, but you can see contingencies in there where one or the other side breaks off the Marvel deal and the game doesn't happen. Wolverine's 100% happening. It's too far along in development. It would be financially extremely detrimental for either side to not finish Wolverine at this point. So Wolverine will come out and it will be no less than great. I will admit I have seen the gameplay on Wolverine, and it's what I was expecting. And I thought it was also cool that I got to see sort of, an inside behind the scenes sort of look at it. And I did it as research for the podcast. I'm using PSBlue Podcast as an excuse that I looked at the leak. But yeah, there's videos, there's everything. I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna go that route out of respect for Insomniac because they are a stand-up studio, and I do not want to infringe on their privacy more than it's already been infringed upon. If you want to look at it, it's all out there to be looked at. But again, things can still change. One thing that Adonis, you keep saying is, we're always looking for that next trailer. We're always looking for that next this or that, and we have it all now. Do we, though? I want to push back a little bit there. Do we, though? Could they change their course of action maybe now because of the leak, or maybe just coincidentally? It happens all the time. A movie gets canceled, a video game gets canceled, a new game comes out, a new idea comes out, a new trend happens, and all of a sudden, everyone's making first-person shooters, a superhero first-person shooters or something. Who knows? For example, now we got to make a first-person shooter because that's what corporate wants. Who knows? There's so many different things that could happen. All I'm saying is this is a projection. Projection. I just want to.
Well, I think it's really important. It's really important to understand the importance of projections, and that being how hard it is to make a game according to everyone's schedules. So, these programmers, they have other jobs they're going to do. They have other studios they're going to work with, and who knows, they might have independent work. They might take a hiatus. They might decide to have children. So these projections are so important because they need it. You can't build a game in a year they're going to try to find studios, they're going to try to find lead developers, they're going to try to find people that are working on projects who maybe aren't working on projects to recruit and work for them. So these projections need to happen for them to find the time to create the game. Logan has to happen. And I'm pretty sure whatever game is like 2026 and 2027 has to happen too. These games are planned years in advance because of how hard it is to get, like I said, 600 people in the same building working on something for 2 to 3 years minimum. So these projections are probably like really close. The more 2030-esque games, like those are the ones where you're like, maybe we can probably swing something different. But to get these programmers in the same building, to get these lead designers, to get these, I mean, and nowadays games are essentially movies. So they have casting directors, they have people, voice actors, and you don't want to like, oh, hey, this guy's working on this show on ABC in 2026, so he can't be the lead voice for our character. So these projections are so important, and I think they do it so that they don't deviate. So I think a large amount of these titles are still going to come out the way Insomniac wants them to, only because it's so hard to plan a game.
That's the tricky part, because most of these slides and little snippets of these different inner workings of emails, things here and there, they're taken out of context. So we don't know if it's directed at the internal team. We don't know if it's directed. It seems like it's directed at like shareholders or corporate people type thing.
It does.
Again, I don't want to analyze the leak too much, but I will say this. You're right. It takes multiple years to make a video game, and it is imperative that they schedule it out years in advance. I do still think that things can change. And my question to you is, if you're Insomniac, do you respond to this leak by changing things up? I don't think you do. I think you just keep doing what you're doing and kind of don't let it phase you.
Yeah, you say screw it, you keep rolling. Yeah, you say screw it,
okay.
You keep rolling.
So we're of the same mind there. But I do think that this is bad press for Sony, good press for Insomniac. And what I mean by that is it's another leak for Sony, another security breach for Sony. It's bad for, the employees, and personal information and all that stuff is not good at all. However, more eyes are on Wolverine now. More eyes are on insert game here and Insomniac and what they're doing. And any press is good press, or whatever the saying is. Now, I don't think that's exclusively the case, but I think in this situation it is. And I think Insomniac
definitely is
will benefit in the end because they handled it so great, and because they're a good studio. If this was another studio, if this was Activision, oh my God. Could you imagine what a nightmare it would be if Activision... What?
Yeah, well, because then they're going to know about the next 12 Call of Duty games they're going to make.
Right. But I just think Activision operates a lot differently than Insomniac does. Not that there's not crunch, and I'm sure bad things that happen at Insomniac too, but I'm just saying they don't have the taboo sort of history that Activision has. And they are a darling type of studio. So I think that everybody feels sorry for them. I know I certainly do. And, it's like I said, it's a bad look for Sony. But this will go away like things do on the internet. Everybody has a very short memory when it comes to things on the internet. So they'll probably just announce things on their own timeline anyway. But crazy stuff. Really, really wild stuff. This was a leak of epic proportions. Yeah. I mean, I feel pretty good about this topic. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Any specific route that I didn't go down that you want to go down with this topic? I mean, I've pretty much said my piece with this. It's a really crazy situation. One correction I did have. Spider-Man 2, approximately, just doing quick pen and paper math, probably sold closer to $500 million. So not $1 billion in sales, but $500 million. That's a lot of money as it is. Anyway, what else you got for this Insomniac leak, Adonis?
That's it. I mean, it's like I said, I think when it comes to protecting information, not only in the world of gaming, but in the world, I think we are owed better as far as the employees go, as far as in any other facet of life, whatever job that you decide to take. If you're going to have your personal information out there, if you're going to have proprietary information that's out there, it needs to remain safe. It can't, on a whim, be downloaded to a USB drive and be sold to the highest bidder. I don't think that's what it's in place for. And I think when you have on the other side of that like proverbial pendulum, when you have security firms that are supposed to be able to take care of that, or whoever they are, if it's not a firm, if it's a person, if it's a software, you need to spend the money to make sure that leaks don't happen like this. That's all I really have on it.
Yeah, that's very well said. I don't want to leave listeners on that sad, morbid note. So I'm going to say this to sort of wrap everything up and sign off till next week. I don't know if this has been, I don't know if you know this, Adonis, but supposedly, and Insomniac confirmed this, it isn't part of the leak, but I think the leak does corroborate it. Supposedly, the Wolverine game is set in the same universe as Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. So they are setting up
That's very good.
Spider-Man
crossover.
Well, they're setting up like a universe, kind of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they're doing their own thing with the Spider-Man games, the Marvel games that Insomniac is making. It's their own universe, and I think that is just phenomenal. I've been very critical of the MCU, but I think in a video game sort of medium, I think this is the perfect way to do a connected universe like this. Screw the Avengers. That game was terrible. That game was so half-baked and just, I don't know if you played it or watched it, or it was like, what are you doing? It was a blatant cash grab. They made Spider-Man a character in that game, and his moveset was just a ripoff of the Insomniac games, and it just felt weird. This feels natural. It feels organic, and I cannot wait. And I know I said I want Insomniac to make a new IP, and I do hope that they do that, but on the other side of the coin, I cannot wait for this connected universe. This is a really cool idea, and I can't wait to see that come to fruition. But that's all I got this week. Adonis, you got anything else to say to these lovely people before we sign off?
No, those that have made it this far and have been listening, thank you for always tuning in. And if this is your first time, welcome. And until next time, I can't wait to see what we talk about next.
All right. Have a great rest of your day, week, night, whatever it is, guys. See you next time.
See ya.